In conclusion, John Weir said, "When we try to pick out anything by itself, we find it hitched to everything else in the universe." In conclusion? Are you kidding me? It's impossible to have some kind of conclusion to this soul boom thingamajig. There's no conceivable way to wrap up with a tidy little summary the topics we've been tossing about, mulling over, and digging around in for almost 254 pages. I mean, give me a break. As proof of this, I offer a brief recap. We dove into God and 70s TV shows. Together we tackled the entirety of religion, and even tried to build a new amazing one along the way. We explored all things profound, consciousness, the sacred and the profane, the existential need for poetry. We dug into the spiritual phenomenon of death and what aliens might be saying about our civilization. And to top it all off, we examined global pandemics, diagnosed most everything that is broken about contemporary society, and laid out 7 foundational concepts for a spiritual revolution. There is simply no way on the notorious GOD's green earth that I will be able to sum up the epic, rambling, sometimes profound, and sometimes ridiculous conversation we've been engaged in. But fine, I'll try. In 1938, Harvard University's medical school began a study that followed a group of 268 men for 80 years. Called the Grant Study, this long-term comprehensive investigation was focused on one question: what makes a good life? In the study, everything was accounted for. Data was gathered on health, psychology, marriage and children, behavioral choices, resilience in dealing with stress, diet, exercise, and, as the subjects got toward the end of their lives, retirement. All of it was sifted through and analyzed to try and determine what allows us to live happy, contented, and fulfilled lives. The data points and insights that were gathered were rumored to have filled rooms. There were many aha takeaways, but at the end of the day, the principal researcher, psychiatrist Dr. George Vaillant, summed up all the findings with a single sentence. Quote, "The only thing that really matters in life are your relationships to other people." End quote. I find that summation incredibly powerful. Only connect, E.M. Forster once wrote. Live in fragments no longer. Relationship, connection, these words that hold such transformative power, along with several others, which oddly all begin with a C, and that we've been pondering on our journey, such as community, cooperation, consultation, and compassion, bring me to my long-promised analogy, a metaphor far more apt and relatable than that stupid car one from the last chapter. Here it is, the human body. The human body is one of the most profound and intricate entities that we'll ever encounter, a far more complex and nuanced mechanism than a car. It is also a perfect example of a crucial spiritual concept, one we alluded to briefly in crafting Soul Boom the Religion. Unity in diversity. A body simply could not be any more diverse. A sloshy bag of skin that contains within it goopy liquids, gigantic bones, and tiny organs that determine all kinds of things. A pump and a bellows right smack dab in the middle of the chest. A cauliflower brain sparked with electrochemical impulses. Eyelashes, nerve endings, toenails. All of these components could not be more various and distinctive from one another. And at the same time, they are harmoniously linked and operating, most of the time, hopefully, with incredible grace and fluidity. The body propels itself, meandering around a shopping mall or a park or a dining room, and meanwhile holds somewhere inside of it that miraculous flame of consciousness. One could compare individuals to cells in the body. Independent, yes, but in service to their particular group. Pancreatic cells help a pancreas do whatever it does. Brain cells work together to help the brain do brain stuff. All 37 trillion cells of the human body show flashes of independence, but at the end of the day, they are all working toward a larger unity, that of a body in space, moving, eating, sleeping, and pondering. The natural systems of planet Earth work along analogous lines. Oceans, rivers, mountains, forests, clouds, and the biosphere that inhabits those systems. One could say all of humanity, too, is like a body, a single organism of 8 billion cells, or individuals, grouped into a myriad of divergent parts, components, and bits and bobs that must harmoniously balance to function as a civilization. Interdependent subsystems maintaining their wholeness while laboring toward an even greater wholeness. Just as the health of the body depends on the various component parts all working together in balance, both our planet and our human society need an essential harmony to function with efficiency and grace. Ultimately, I believe this entire crazy soul boom dissertation boils down to a single concept: unity. What we must seek in this spiritual revolution is a profound unity unlike anything humanity has ever experienced before. Albert Einstein said, "The greatest illusion in this world is the illusion of separation." About 10,000 years ago, the current mythology of humans on planet Earth began to play out. Nomadic groups, village and cave dwellers, began to form civilizations that started separating from one another. We saw only differences between tribes and races. Then came remoteness and epochs of never-ending conflict. At its center, this is the concept of duality. There is a thing and another thing, and they are separate and different. The way the entire world works has been built on this illusion of separation for millennia. Much of humanity, living in this way for eons, has created a dualistic global culture. Mind versus body, civilization versus nature, spiritual versus material, us versus them, apart. The result? Tribalism and the inherent separateness that comes with it. In spiritual discourse, this tendency to separate is often defined as being fueled by ego, which Buddhists call the enemy of compassion. In religious thought, ego is the persistent self that is stubbornly seeking to win out, to assert and prove itself, to protect its insecurities. In the human body, a single out-of-whack cell can lead to disease. Similarly, our cultural obsession with individualism, our ego-centered lives, is a factor in creating the imbalanced cells, systems, and pandemics that plague our collective well-being. In recent years, we've noticed a shift. As we've matured as a species and our technology has advanced, this myth of separateness has begun to transform. The world has become profoundly smaller with the advent of the modern age of cultural globalization. The telegraph, the steamship, the railroad, the airplane, the car, and eventually the internet. Although as a species we're still continuously wrestling with that old tribal separateness and collective ego, we're awakening to the truth of just how interdependent we are. This interconnectedness became blindingly apparent when a virus that started in rural China swept through the world, affecting every country. Or when the tiny nation of Greece defaulted on its loans and upended stock markets globally. Or when supply chains seized up and car parts, stuck on cargo ships, affected automobile prices everywhere. Also, remember when it seemed like everyone on planet Earth was watching Squid Game over the course of the exact same week? This, along with the blue marble photo phenomenon, has led over the past 50 years to an understanding of what many would term planetary consciousness. We are all related. We need each other, depend on each other, affect each other. Tribalism must move toward community, a global community. Rugged individualism inevitably and necessarily inches toward vulnerable collectivism. We are one human family regardless of race or nation or class, sharing a rock in space. As the Lakota say, all my relations. This realization, awakening, is a crucial step along the path toward the inevitable maturation of our species. But wait, it isn't enough. There's another phase of evolution to go. There's a whole new story to tell. One of my all-time favorite childhood jokes is about a Buddhist ordering a hot dog. He says to the vendor, "Make me one with everything." In this case, a silly joke articulates something better than even Einstein could. If you could continue with this evolutionary line of consciousness that I'm describing, you come to the inevitable conclusion that we are not only interconnected, but that in actuality, We are one. Any perception of isolation and disconnection is a mere illusion, as Einstein describes. We become like the Buddhist ordering the hot dog. Limits, boundaries, and differences fall away and evaporate. Picture yourself walking on a beach, watching the waves. You notice each wave crash to shore and dissolve into foam. You see new waves form and ride forward toward the sand. You observe the distinct curve and beauty of each individual crest and fall. Then something subtly shifts in your outlook. You notice that what you are actually taking in is the ocean itself. Your entire perspective slides and expands as you begin to consider the totality of the ocean. Its depth and breadth, mysteries, currents and storms, its awesome beauty, and its life-providing bounty. The fish that swim in it, the moisture that rises from it to form the clouds above you. You realize that you yourself are like a single wave on a much larger sea. And like a wave on the ocean, you are one small part of a much grander, more mysterious, powerful, and beautiful totality. Abdu'l-Baha once said, "Your souls are as waves on the sea of the spirit. Although each individual is a distinct wave, the ocean is one. All are united in God." We must not consider the separate waves alone, but the entire sea. We should rise from the individual to the whole. As we rise from the individual to the whole, our fate can ultimately be a hopeful one. We are like Kwai Chang Caine, like Basho the poet, wandering the earth, searching for the sacred, for meaning. Spiritual hope punks on a journey to build community at the grassroots. As we suffer difficult tests, we draw upon that deep reservoir of wisdom from the world's great faith traditions. We know that the undefinable creative force that courses through every star and every cell is there to guide us. To quote the narrator of the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, we feel we are on the broad highway, walking hand in hand with the spirit of the universe. This is the transformation that humanity is inevitably moving toward, a profound understanding that we are all linked. More than linked. In fact, we were never separated in the first place. We are interconnected like cells in a single body, alive only in relation to one another, bound together, as the poet Rumi describes, with the most powerful force in the universe. Love is the whole thing. We are only pieces.